Hey, what's going on everyone? This is BekBrace channel. My name is Amir and I'm very excited to have you here today. In this tutorial, I'm going to build with you a robust inventory management system using Rust programming language and also the Cursive library. Now, I'm not sure if you've watched my Cursive library crash course or not, but if not, I'm going to leave the link to that video in the description below. Please make sure to check it out as it's going to be very handy to follow along in this tutorial. Now, this system that we're going to be building today will be able to easily store, view, and delete items. That essentially is going to make it a very useful tool for anyone who needs to keep track of inventory. And before we dive into the code, I want to take a moment here to thank all of you guys for your amazing support. Whether you're leaving comments, hitting that like button, or just tuning in to watch my videos, it means the world to me. And your engagement really helps the channel grow and motivates me, of course, to create more content. And if you're new here, I would like to welcome you. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can stay updated with our latest projects. Today's project is going to cover key concepts in Rust programming, including how to work with structs, serialization, and of course using a user-friendly interface with Cursive. That's the whole idea of creating this project, to be honest, as I love the retro programs and the vibe that these programs bring me. And that's one thing you need to know about me. I hate mouse and I love keyboard. I love more CLI or command line interface applications, TUI or terminal user interface applications, and the app that we're going to be building today is a TUI app, by the way, terminal user interface. And to be honest, I was so excited when I knew that I can recreate those applications with those retro vibes on today's computers. Of course, CLI and TUI apps. Alright guys, so before we start coding, let me show you a demo of what we're going to be building today. So as you can see, this is the application that we're going to be building. Again, if you don't know what Cursive library is, please go ahead and check my Cursive library crash course. But essentially, that's the main terminal user interface of our application. It has a title of inventory management. You have 3 different input fields. You need to do data entry on that, and you have different options. You can save the record, you can show everything, you can delete by ID, or you can quit the program. So we're not going to use a database management system in this application. Definitely you can do that. You can use MongoDB, you can use PostgreSQL, or any database management system that you prefer. In this tutorial, simply I'm going to create a JSON file, an external JSON file, and I'm going to save all of the records in that JSON file. So you can retrieve data from that file and you can write to that file. All right. This is our data persistence mechanism in that tutorial. You can also delete any product by ID, you can show all of the products, and you can quit the program. All right, so first of all, let me show you what we have from products. So we have only one item, which is IBM PC, quantity 20, price $750, sales tax $75, and total price is $16,500. Okay, now let's go ahead and add a product. Let me say Sinclair. Quantity, let's say 20, and the price is $400, for example. Hit save, and you have a message telling you that the product is saved successfully. Hit OK. Now, if we'll do show all, you can see clearly that that record has been added to our database, or quote-unquote database, in our JSON file. All right, we can hit OK. We can quit the application. Let's run that one more time and let's check out. And indeed, we have our data persistent to our JSON file. Now, if you want to delete an item, you can hit delete by ID. It's going to open a new window telling you to enter the product ID to delete. So you need to know the product ID that you want to delete. Let's say, for instance, that record that we've just added has an ID number 2. So you will type 2, confirm, and you have a confirmation message, product deleted successfully. Okay. Now, if we'll do show all, indeed, that record has been eliminated from our JSON file. And if you will try to save without typing any record, you will have an error message. Error, please enter a product type. Also, if you'll try to delete an item by ID and you'll hit number 5, for example, and we know that we don't have an item with the ID 5, if you will do confirm, you will have also an error message, invalid product ID. Alright, so that's basically our mini software, guys. I hope you will enjoy the tutorial. One last thing, and before we start coding, I want to say that this app is multi-threaded, like the Pomodoro timer application that we've created the last time. It's going to use Arc and MUTEX from the Rust standard library. For those of you who don't know Arc and MUTEX, Arc stands for Atomic Reference Counting, and Arc essentially allows multiple threads to have shared ownership of the data. MUTEX, on the other hand, is going to ensure that only one thread can access the data at a time to prevent race conditions or data races bugs. And you will see later that the code is not going to explicitly spawn new threads, but I've structured it this way to allow safe concurrent access. And that's going to make it thread safe and ready for multi-threading if you decide to extend it further, and I highly encourage you to do that. And guys, I would be more than happy to know that you have actually developed or improved upon one of the apps that we've created together. And with that being said, let's go ahead and create our inventory management system using Rust programming language with Cursive library. So let me go ahead and create a new project, and I'm gonna call it inventory system, or inv-sys. All right, let's open this with Visual Studio Code as usual. All right, and let's open the source, the main. And for those of you guys who are interested in VS Code theme, because I've got a lot of questions about what is my theme, what is my font. The font is Cascadia Co font. Sometimes also I use Fiera Code font. And as far as the theme, it's Kanagwa. It's one of my favorites. All right, so that's Kanagwa. All right, so let's start by importing some necessary modules here. Before that, let's go to cargo.toml and add here cursive equal to 21, I believe, right? If I'm not mistaken, or 28. 21, yeah, 21.1. All right, and let's get back here and let's go ahead and import our necessary modules. So from Cursive, I want from views module, I want to import dialog, edit view, and list view. And these of course are for the UI components. Also from the Cursive, I want to import, so the Cursive with a small c, that's the crate, guys, that's the package. And from the package, we can import different things. So here, for example, the views, this is a module. Now I want directly to import Cursive with capital C and Cursive extra or ext. Also, I need to import some traits for naming and resizing the UI components. That's very important. So also from Cursive, naturally, I want from traits, and traits is like interfaces in Go, for example. So I need two traits, nameable and resizable. Also from the standard library, from sync, I want the arc and MUTEX like we've done the last time. Also, I need file system module. So from standard library, file system, and I need here file and open options. That's mainly for the JSON file that we're going to create. Also from the standard library, I need input output. Here is self and also read. The read trait is for reading from our JSON file. And finally, I need two traits for serialization and deserialization. And that's very important because we will have different items. Each item will have a different ID number. So to create those ID numbers, we will need to have serialize and deserialize. So for us to be able to do that, we will need those two traits, serialize and deserialize. So that's what we need from the CERD or CERDE, I honestly don't know how to pronounce this, crate. And by the way, we need to go back to cargo.toml and add this. So Let's add serde or serde. By the way, guys, how to pronounce this, I don't know. If you know, is it like Italian? Serde, it has Italian feel to it, or serd or serd, I don't know. And also features here, I will need derive, and I will explain to you derive in a moment. Yep, and also I need serde JSON, and that's version 1.0132. All right, awesome. Let's go back to our file. Now, the next thing that I want to do is to do derive, and let me write that, and I will explain to you in a moment. And we need to derive debug. I also want clone, serialize, deserialize. So what that derive keyword simply means with that hashtag, this hashtag, then opening bracket derive and open parentheses, then you have debug, clone, serialize, and deserialize. What does that all mean, or what is it all about? Simply, this derive is an attribute in Rust programming language. This automatically generates code to implement certain traits for your types, like structs or enum. That's why there is this squiggly ugly line, because this should be followed by a struct or enum, for example. And just to prove you what I'm saying, if you will type here struct and let's say, for instance, products, that's enough for the derive to eliminate that red line. So again, the purpose for this derive is to save you from writing boilerplate code when you want a type to behave in a certain way. So you have debug, clone, serialize, deserialize, and others. But these are the things that we need in our app. So inside the product struct, I want to have different fields: product type, quantity, price per unit, sales tax, and total price. These are the fields that we will need for each row or each record in our database. Next, I want to define a constant for the file path where inventory data will be stored. The file, I'm going to call it inventory.json. Of course, you're free to call your file whatever you want. Then I will need to have two different functions, one to save products to the file and one to load the products from the file. The first function is very easy. I'm going to call it save products to file. And I have here an input, which is products, and I will have here main input, which is the products, and that's of data type, a reference to the vector and taking inside the product, which is our struct. And the vector, by the way, is a growable array type. And if you've watched my Rust course, I've explained what vectors are. So the vector is going to take the product because, of course, it's growable, because we're going to add a lot of records. So that's why it's very important to have a flexible array type to increase or decrease as we want, to add products or to delete products. All right, so that's going to be inserted as an input for the save product to file function. And as an output for that function signature is IO result. So that's simply here indicating the return type of that function. IO result, this is a result type that's commonly used in Rust for handling success or error cases. All right, and I also have explained that in my Rust course in the latest chapters. I'm also going to leave the link to my Rust course in the description. So all in all, this function takes a reference to the vector of product and attempts to perform an IO operation, which is going to write those products to our JSON file, which is going simply to result in a successful operation, OK, or failure operation, error. Next, you're going to create a new open options instance to configure file opening. Then you're going to specify that we want to write to the file. Then you're going to create the file if it doesn't exist. Then you're going to truncate the file to 0 length before writing, which means deleting or wiping out everything or make it 0 length in that file before we write to the file. And finally, we're going to open the file at the specified path, handling any errors. And the last line here is serde JSON. This simply means that we're going to serialize the products vector to JSON and we're going to write it to the file. So the writer is file and value is products. And lastly, we're going to return OK just to indicate success. All right, so that's the save product to file function. And for the load products from file, that's obviously the function that it's used to load the products from the JSON file. And we're going to try to open the file here. And we're going to create a new string to hold the file data. We're going to read the file content into the string. Then we will try to deserialize the string into a vector of product structs. And finally, we're going to return the loaded products if successful. And as far as the vec new here, this simply is going to return an empty vector if the file doesn't exist or the deserialization fails. And that's basically everything we need to write in the global scope. Now we need to enter the public scope inside the main function. Let me just delete this line, we don't need that. So don't worry, all of this is very, very easy. Inside the main function, we'll need to do different things. We'll have to create our cursive application, and we'll need to have our products variable, and that's essentially equal to arg new mutex new load products from file. And this simply means that we're going to load the products from the file, and we're going to wrap them in arg and mutex for safe shared access, as I've explained in the beginning of the tutorial. Next, we're going to add layers. So if you've watched the last video, you know exactly what we're doing. We're creating a dialog. We want to have a title. We have here the content. The content has different children, product type label, quantity label, and price per unit label. So let's take product type, for instance. This simply is going to add an edit view for entering the product type. The same thing for the quantity and the same thing for the price per unit. Also, we'll need a save button. So this button is going actually to save the product. We want to have products clone. So this is going to clone the arg for the thread safe access. And that's very important to have products reference here. And you know what's going to follow that? Yes, that's right. We'll have a closure. This closure is going to run whenever the button is going to be pressed. So you will have here product type, you'll have quantity, and also you will have price per unit. And then we'll have a validation check, and that's very important for the user experience. So this validation check is going to check if the fields are empty or invalid. So the first line here, we're going to check if the product type is empty. Then we're going to show this message that says error, please enter a product. Then we're going to exit the closure. Not only if the product type is empty, but also if the quantity is equal to 0 or the price per unit is equal to 0. So if the quantity is equal to 0, also we're going to have this message and we're going to exit the closure. The same thing for the price per unit. If it's 0, we're going to have or pass this message, error, please enter a valid price. And also we're exiting the closure by the return keyword. Next, we'll have different variables. So we have the sales tax, and I've just put it 10%, just an arbitrary number. I didn't think too much about that, but you can be very precise and enter the sales tax in your own country. That's going to be multiplied by the price per unit, of course, then the total price. That's a very simple mathematical operation. Then we'll have a product instance or product object, and that's being instantiated from the product class or product struct, excuse me. So you have here product type, quantity, price per unit, sales tax, and total price. Now, these three lines are very important steps, I would say, or very important component of our application. Here I'm locking the mutex to safely access the products. And also I'm adding here or pushing the product to the product store. So that's going to make sure that the door is locked for the thread to do the modification needed on that shared resource, essentially the products. Next, I want to make sure that the file is saved. So I'm going to just to try to save the products to a file here by saying if let error equal to save products to a file and taking a reference to our mutable variable, the product underscore store. Then we're going to add a layer to our application, and we're going to say here that error saving product. And if all that is true, that means that we have an error. We're going to have an error message here by saying error saving product. So we're going to take our application, which is the s.addLayer method, and we're going to pass a dialog with format error saving product, and we're going to pass the error, whatever the error is. Else, we're going to say that the product has been saved successfully. Then we have a show all button. Now the show all button is a very important one just to understand or to keep track of the products that we have in our JSON file. So in line 123, I'm actually cloning the arg for thread safe access. Then on line 124, I'm creating a closure whenever the show all button is pressed. And here, if you will take a look, output.pushStir and format, and that's the format actually. So I'm formatting the product details into the output string. Next here, I have index, so that's product index with one base, right? And product type, quantity, price per unit, sales tax, and total price. And then here, I'm actually checking if there are no products. And if there are indeed no products, I'm going to say no products in the inventory. Otherwise, I'm going to show the output in a dialog. So again, I'm cloning the arg for thread saving. I'm creating a closure whenever the delete by ID button is pressed. Then I'm going to create an edit view for entering the product ID, and I'm going to save that in a variable called ID input. Then you're going to take your app and you're going to add a layer, a dialog with the title delete product. The content here is simply you're going to set the content of the dialog. Then you're going to open a new input field that tells you to enter the product ID to delete. So that's going to actually open a new window, right? That's the child of the original delete by ID button. So delete by ID button, where is it? This one, delete by ID button, if you will click it, it's going to open a new child, new button, or new input field rather, excuse me, to enter product ID to delete. Then for that child enter product ID to delete input field, we will have a button called confirm. So when you will enter number 2, for example, the second record in the database to delete, you will hit confirm, then some action will be triggered. And that's actually the closure that you're creating whenever you will hit the confirm button. So this ID stir variable is actually to get the content from the edit view named delete ID. All right, and we're getting the content of that, and simply we are unwrapping the result and we're converting that to string. So we will try to parse the ID as unsigned size data type. So you can see here, if let OK, the ID here of data type unsigned size, then you're locking the MUTEX to access the products. And also you're going to check out if the ID is valid. So you were saying if ID is more than 0 and ID is less than or equal to the product underscore store.length, in that case, you're actually checking if the ID is within the valid range, right? If that's the case, you're going to remove the product from the store, from your database, from your JSON file, essentially. And why we're saying ID -1? That's simply to adjust for zero-based index. So practically, if you have, for example, 3 different ID. So practically, if you have 3 records, right? Record 1, 2, and 3. And if you're going to type number 4, you're going to have an error. And that's exactly what you're going to have here. Error deleting product. Otherwise, product deleted successfully. Now, the next and last part of our code is very, very important. That's for parsing the ID. Without it, we won't be able to retrieve the product ID numbers. First of all, we're going to try to parse the ID as unsigned size data type. Okay, with ID, whatever the ID is, that's equal to the ID string.parse unsigned size, and we're going to pass inside curly braces here different things. First of all, we're going to declare a mutable variable called product store, and that's the products clone.lock.unwrap. So again, you're basically locking the mutex to access the products. Then you're going to check out here if the ID is valid or not. Check out if the ID is within the valid range by saying if ID is more than 0 and less than or equal to product store.length. If that's the case, the product store.remove, we're going to remove whatever the number is being passed. And by saying if let error, that part right here, this is essentially an error checking to try to save the updated products to the file. And indeed, if there is an error, you're going to have an error message telling you error deleting product and passing whatever the error is. Otherwise, we'll have a success message telling us that product is deleted successfully. And if the number is invalid, we're going to have this message, error, please enter a valid number. So here, if you will type 5, for example, and you have only 4 records, you're going to have this message, error, invalid product ID. And here, or else otherwise, you're going to have this error message, error, please enter a valid number. If, for example, you will enter characters, you're going to have this, please enter a valid number. Then at last here, we have a cancel button to cancel the deletion. And finally, we have a quit button, and that's of course to quit the application. And of course, at the end, don't forget the main event loop to keep the application running. And that's basically everything, guys. It's quite a big application. It has a lot of concepts to wrap your head around. I will leave the link to the GitHub repo in the description. Don't worry, you will find a lot of comments. The file is going to be heavily commented for your reference. If you don't understand a certain point, you're going to find my comment on that line. I just want to apologize for you guys for not coding the app in this video. I've explained everything instead, and that's because I've been dealing with some back issues and my doctor has advised me not to sit for long periods, so I had to make this adjustment. I truly appreciate your understanding and I hope you still find the explanations helpful. And with that being said, let's go ahead and try out our application. Let me do cargo run and hit enter. All right, awesome. So we have here our product type. If you will do show all, no products in the inventory because we haven't saved anything yet or we haven't added any records yet to our file. Well, basically there is no file. If you will check out, there is no JSON file. So let's have, let's say product type, for instance, Apple Mac. Quantity, let's say 100. Price per unit, let's say 1000. Let's hit save. Okay, and immediately you can find out that the inventory.json file has been created. Hit OK. If you'll check out inventory.json, you'll find here you have your object with product type. So yeah, key value pairs, product type, quantity, price per unit, sales tax, and total price. Awesome. And if we'll hit show all right, that's good. Okay, let's add another item. Let's say Atari 800 XL. Let's say here 500. Save. Great. Show all. Again, it has been added to the records. Let's add a third and final one. Let's do, for example, Tandy. Let's say here 400 and price 200. Save. Awesome. Show all. Okay, so the application is working perfectly. Now, if we want to delete by ID, now if I will type anything, characters, not number, confirm, error, please enter a valid number. Great. So if you will do 6, for example, and we know that we don't have 6 records, but just to check out if we'll get an error message or not, indeed, error, invalid product. If we would do 3, for example, confirm, product deleted successfully. Okay. Now, if we'll check out, we have indeed our 2 records with the 3rd record deleted. Alright guys, so there you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching the whole tutorial. I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough and learned something new today. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more tutorials coming your way. And as always, feel free to drop any questions or thoughts in the comments below. I'd love always to hear from you. Once again, thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Till then, stay safe and be well. See you later guys.